Today we're going to be talking about the new DJI OSMO Action. Now, I wasn't sent one to review or take a look at, so I'm not going to be giving you guys an overview of the camera or how it works. What I'm going to do is give you some of my thoughts, having watched pretty much every other review there is on this camera out there. So let's get on with it. So today DJI have released the OSMO Action, and this is their first action camera, and it puts them in direct competition with GoPro. Now, when you see the camera, it is very similar in shape and size and appearance to a GoPro, but there are some very important differences. Now, DJI have only released one model, so whereas GoPro have several models in their range, DJI are going straight up against the Hero 7 Black, and that is the camera that it does need to be compared to. When you look at both models, the specification is actually very similar. They can both record in 4K 60 frames a second, and they both have 12 megapixel stills. Both cameras have electronic image stabilization, and both cameras are waterproof without using an external housing. Now, the GoPro is waterproof to 10 meters, whereas the DJI is actually waterproof to 11. Both cameras have dual stereo microphones, and they also have the option to connect an external microphone as well with an adapter. Just like the GoPro, DJI also have the removable battery, which means you can buy accessory ones and continue to record whilst you have others on the charge. When you look over the cameras, on the back of them, they both have nice large colour touchscreens. However, when you look around the front, you will see a few differences. Whereas on the GoPro, you have this little LCD, which is purely informational. On the front of the DJI, you have a second full colour screen as well. And the advantage to this is it allows you to see the same image on the back and the front of the camera when you're recording. Talking about the differences between the cameras, it gets a little bit more interesting. The DJI OSMO Action can record in 4K 30 frames a second HDR video, and the GoPro has no capability of doing this at all. So it is a nice feature that DJI have added, and it means you're going to get that very high dynamic range video if you want to be able to use it. The DJI also has a 16:9 touchscreen on the back, and it isn't 4:3 like on the GoPro. So that means when you're playing back footage, it's actually the correct aspect. The screen on the front, that 1.4 inch screen, as I mentioned, is color, and it allows you to see your full images when you're recording on the front too. So if you are using your camera for vlogging or blogging, it means that you don't have to worry about, am I actually in the correct position? You can see it on the screen on the front. With regards to battery life on the two, the DJI actually lasts longer because it has a bigger battery, and even when using it with the image stabilization, you do get a good chunk more battery life out the DJI over the GoPro. With regards to that image stabilization, the DJI system is called Rocksteady, and this appears from all of the videos to work a lot better than the GoPro equivalent. However, there is actually a reason for this, and that is that DJI are cropping the image a little bit more than GoPro are. And what I mean by that is when you enter image stabilization, it needs to crop the image to leave space around the outside of the sensor to be able to use those pixels when you're moving. The GoPro in 4K will generally crop about 10% of the image, whereas the DJI OSMO Action will crop up to 18%. So what that means is you're actually getting a slightly narrower field of view, but you're getting better image stabilization. With regards to the lenses on the camera, the GoPro still has its typical fisheye lens, whereas the DJI does not. And that means you haven't got that horrible distorted looking footage that drives me personally absolutely bonkers. Whereas the DJI does have a few things the GoPro doesn't, it does actually flip the other way as well. Unfortunately, the DJI does not have GPS, whereas the GoPro does. So that means the DJI OSMO Action cannot geotag its images. It also does not have HDMI output. So if you do need a HDMI output to connect your GoPro or your camera to an external device or TV, the DJI doesn't. So if either GPS or HDMI is important to you, the GoPro is probably going to be the better option. Talking about image quality between the two cameras, from all the footage I've seen so far, the GoPro tends to be a little bit sharper and the colours look a little bit more natural on the GoPro compared to the DJI. Image quality is very, very similar between the two. The GoPro might have the legs on it a touch, however, it is very, very close, and that is based on existing units that have been demo units that are out there and early firmware as well. And as we saw with GoPro with the early models, they can change that, so I can only see DJI making some improvements in that area. The difference between them really isn't enough for you to make a purchasing decision on it, in my opinion. The only other thing really to mention between the two is, as I mentioned at the start, the DJI has 100 megabits a second recording, whereas the GoPro only has just over 70. However, the DJI will only record in H.264, whereas the GoPro has H.264 and H.265. For me personally, that wouldn't be a big deal because HEVC isn't really easy to edit at the moment anyway, even on some of the latest laptops. So, which of the two cameras should you buy? Well, it depends what you've got already. If you've got a GoPro Hero 7 Black, the real reasons to move over to the DJI is the front screen so you can see what you're doing, as well as having that extra image stabilization from Rocksteady. If you haven't got an action camera or you've got an older one like I have here, then to be honest, my personal opinion is, looking at both, you should go with the DJI OSMO Action. And the reason is as follows. GPS on the GoPro is pretty much a waste of time, and unless you specifically need HDMI output, having HDR video, having the front screen is a far better option than having GPS and HDMI. You do get a lot more options on the DJI, and you also get better battery life as well, and that can only be a good thing. With regards to pricing between the two cameras, they're both very similar. The DJI is $349 and the GoPro is $399. However, it's normally discounted to $349 anyway, so they're both about the same. Now, as I've said, the new OSMO Action is an interesting product from DJI. They've entered an existing marketplace for the first time, which they don't usually do, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they get on. It's certainly going to worry GoPro, that is for sure. Now, if you want to order it and you want to support the channel, there's a link to the new OSMO Action in the description of this video. Please do use it. It's only by you guys purchasing via those links am I able to keep making videos like this. That's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Please do subscribe, and I will do another video again soon.